What's up, guys? So this is a Fuetsky. I was thinking about new shinies in Pokemon Go like just a few minutes ago, well, a few hours ago. Steel was released as a shiny, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But am I really gonna spend a lot of time on that Pokemon? Am I gonna hunt it for long? While I could actually get something a little bit more useful or something that would actually benefit me from raid or PvP perspective. Like am I gonna spend as much time on that as something like just hunting for Pokemon that I know I might not get shiny, but something that I would benefit from, like a Phanpy in that ground event. And then I wondered if Niantic would actually give all the new shinies they release a new move to come along with it. So how good would they actually be, and would it actually make it worth it to go out and hunt those Pokemon? So the way I actually did is pretty simple. So I quantified, after a few hours of research, all the fast moves here, depending on which Pokemon they come from. So there are moves like Bug Bite that they're going to be the best no matter if your Pokemon is more defensive or offensive. So here I tested on something like Vespiquen and Pinsir, even though some Pokemon will not be able to learn these moves. There's here Feint Attack and Bite, etc. Darkrai cannot learn Bite, I believe, but I just tested them out. And comes out that most moves are actually pretty consistent from a PvE perspective, so that's against gyms, raids, etc. So moves that are pretty performant by a hyper offense Pokemon like here Darkrai will very likely be good from something that's more tanky like an Umbreon, but there are exceptions. I put them in red here. In the Dark type, Snarl is the second best, but from something more offensive, but it's third in terms of like tanky offense. And something that's like the worst hyper offense fast move is actually the second best. It's like Sucker Punch. So there are exceptions here. Same thing for Water. Water is pretty special because forget Splash. Bubble is the best for hyper offense, but on some Pokemon like Gyarados, it would not perform as well. So that's pretty much like a rule of thumb, but it's not an absolute truth. And I tested, of course, on some Pokemon that cannot learn those moves, like Palkia cannot learn Bubble, but just for stats purposes I still did it. So you can actually pause and check right now if you want. I just did some quick tests. There are moves that are like pretty much identical, like Tackle and Cut. They're exactly the same thing. There are another few cases, and the charge moves here. So once again, I tested on Pokemon that have like high attack, low defense, and some Pokemon that have like high defense and HP, low attack, etc. Like to really see what's consistent or not. So you really see that Foul Play would be the best Dark type charge move in most cases. X-Scissor would be the best Bug, etc. So if you want to pause it, please do and check it out. Simulated a Hidden Power Fairy here because we do not have a Fairy fast move. So it comes out that, Play Rough, even though it has like a lower DPS times DPE, so the DPS, which is the damage you dish out per second, times a DPE, so that means qualified per energy. Even though it's a little lower, the fact that the activation and the durations, etc., are better, it will perform better than something like Dazzling. So there's some, like you see, generally speaking, it's gonna be logic. Like something that has like a low DPS times DPE will not perform as well as something that has a higher one. But it really depends on how many bars you have. Something like Draco Meteor will not perform as well as as Outrage because there's only one charge. There's only one bar. So there are still some cases where Draco Meteor will outperform, Outrage because, you know, it has a higher damage output. But in most cases, you're going to be able to use Outrage more times than Draco Meteor, so it's going to be a better move. And it's not like, you know, the difference in power is not as notable. Like, you know, only 40 and you get it a lot more often. Of course, it's a little bit of a longer move, but, you know, it balances out in the end in being a better attack. So as I said, if you want to pause and check which one comes out on top, hidden power, not hidden power, sorry, but water balls are pretty much the best moves of every type. So that's something that you need to consider. Also calc Precipitous Blades on something like Steelix, even though it doesn't exist, just for, you know, seeing what's consistent or not. So Future Sight comes out on top, being the best psychic move. Imagine if Mewtwo had that, it would pretty much be like #1 in a game. Origin Pulse is actually kind of surprising. It's the third move in terms of water type, because Hydro Cannon comes out being the best Community Day move at 85. So if you see here, it was 85 point something. Frenzy Plant's only 77 or something. 76.92, and then Blast Burn 73. So like the difference is pretty notable. So Hydro Cannon will be by far the best Community Day starter Community Day move. So let's go back to all the shinies we got. There are some cases where it's not going to be valid, like there's not going to be any improvement, but some moves will perform better in PvP. In the case that, you know, you have Dragon Tail, which is better in PvE, Dragon Breath will be better in PvP. So there are some situations here that can actually be pretty interesting. So started with Groudon, so it would be #3 in the game in terms of DPS times TDO. This is a metric here, DPS cube times TDO. So it's pretty much like a standard. It would be #3 in the game, right behind Metagross and Rayquaza. So Precipitous Blade with Mudshot would be like almost twice the damage, the power, than its actual best moveset, Dragon Tail and Solar Beam. So pretty notable here. If you want to go with Kyogre, you add Origin Pulse. You'll have 34-31, so it's going to be right behind like #4, #5, depending on if you consider some other Pokemon, like, you know, Mewtwo with Future Sight or Psyshock or Psystrike, etc. It would actually be much better because Psychic is a pretty bad charge Psychic move. Anyways, so Latios, Dragon Breath, Dragon Claw is its current best move. You replace it with Outrage, it would really outperform it. The other situation, however, that I see is using Luster Purge as a new move, like a signature move. So the way I see it is that it's going to be useful in PvP, but, you know, for PvP you need to get a pretty bad IV Latios, but, you know, it's still quite valid to check that Luster Purge could be a stat dropping move. So dropping your opponent's defense, like, you know, you're gonna go out and you want to actually make it easier for your next Pokemon. Luster Purge would be great. Same thing here for Latios. Miss Ball lowers the opponent's attack, so this is taken right from the main series game and try to adapt them to Pokemon Go. So, anyways, pretty interesting. Ho-Oh here has Steel Wing and Fire Blast as its best moveset. Steel Wing's not stab. Fire Blast is pretty terrible as a fire move. It could just, you know, use something like Fire Spin, but I don't even think it's possible for Ho-Oh. So the way I see it is that instead of like relying on getting hidden power, which it got in a recent buff, and hoping you get Flying or Fire, maybe give it its signature move, Sacred Fire. So I just took the data here from Blast Burn. Okay, I just gave it Blast Burn and ran Cox. Comes out like twice the total power it currently has. So it goes from like a mid high tier Pokemon low, so you know, like something that would be like rated 3.5 on Game Press, to something that would be like a 4.5 and like one of the best fire types, and it's actually proven here. It would be the number 1 DPS, number 11 overall DPS. I think it would actually be like second in fire. I think it's like right behind Moltres. So not bad at all. So there are Pokemon that already have like, you know, their best movesets. Like you see here, Electivire, Thundershock, Wild Charge. They're both pretty much the best moves you can get for electric types. So what can you do? Not much to actually make it better. Maybe give it like coverage like Ice Punch for PvP. That would be cool. Machamp here has the best fast move in the game. Like Counter is the best fast move in the game, period. And PvE and PvP included. Like there's like the DPD plus EPD times 1.3 unit, well, metric that is used here to compare like how well it performs in PvP, and it's like the best here at 8.55. So it has like very high power, very high energy, and in PvE it's number 1 in fighting types. So you're actually gonna see a little later, like it's pretty much the best move in the game. Magnezone, Spark, Wild Charge, if you gave it Thundershock, that would be like a small increase, 3.4%. I forgot to say, Machamp recently got Rock Slide because it already had Stone Edge as a legacy move, but Rock Slide performs a little bit better, so coverage for flying types and bug types which you cannot hit super effectively with Dynamic Punch. So pretty good. So yeah, Magnezone Thundershock would be a small increase. Spark is not a bad move already, but you know, it would be better. So if you actually went for a Wing Attack, Sky Attack moveset for Honchkrow, it would not perform as well. It's like it's the small decrease compared to Snarl, but it would make it the best flying type attacker. It would outperform Rayquaza. So something that you need to consider. Like there's not a lot of like really good flying type attackers, and you know, nobody's gonna keep a Rayquaza as a flying type attacker. Like people are gonna be more tempted to make it a dragon attacker because it's like overall a better attacker. Like you can hit much more stuff. Aeroblast on Lugia would actually be better. Like so far it has like 2 very good moves. Lugia cannot learn Confusion, so Extra Sensory would be its best charge fast move, and Sky Attack is the best flying type charge, and it already has Future Sight, so the best combination here is already there. But maybe if you gave it Aeroblast, not necessarily that's like the best idea because it already has something very good in Sky Attack, but you know, maybe make it something that will work well for PvP, like a stat changing move. Same thing here. Gengar, you cannot make it better. Lake and Shadow Ball is the best ghost combo for Gengar. But if you actually gave it something like Poison Jab, like you know, it's 20% weaker, but it would actually still be the best poison type attacker. So Rose Raid, etc. Like you see, Power Whip is exactly the same thing as Grass Knot, but it hits faster. Like the activation is a little shorter, so it's exactly the same move, but it applies the damage earlier in the animation compared to Grass Knot. So that's just, you know, the only difference. Magmortar already has like a pretty good move and Fire Spin, but a good fast move, but not a good charge move. So give it Overheat, almost a 40% increase. It would make it the number 5 fire type attacker. And Psychic is like, you know, pretty bad move, but you can put it as coverage for PvP, even though it's not something that you really see a lot in PvP. If you make Togekiss here a double flying with Sky Attack, which it can normally learn, 25% stronger. So it would, compared to Honchkrow here, it would be a little bit weaker, but it's tankier. So it has a 502 TDO compared to a 341 TDO. So it's something that you can use less in case of large groups. So you maybe instead of like running through 3 Honchkrows, you're actually going to run through 2 Togekis because it's tankier. So there's like situations like that where, you know, if you're only trying to get the raid completed without spending as many potions, well, spending less potions you can, that would actually work. So same thing here. For some Pokemon like Hariyama, you already have the best moves. Flareon is an exception here. I decided to exclude Community Day Pokemon because of the fact that they already got a move. But Last Resort is not good, so there's some Pokemon that would actually benefit from it. So Flareon was not one of them because it already has Fire Spin and Overheat, the best 2 fire moves available for him. So Luxray here cannot learn Thunder Shock. I was surprised by that. I actually didn't know. And it has Hidden Power, so in a recent buff, it's not too bad. Like, you know, HP Ice for something like PvP. Like, you know, you cannot hit ground types, but, you know, a little surprise here with HP Ice. That comes straight from the main series games anyways. Jolteon Thundershock Wild Charge instead of Thunderbolt, so that's like a 30, almost 33% increase. Espeon already has the best moves. Same thing for Gyarados. Arcanine here, instead of Flamethrower, give it Overheat. 17% increase, almost. So, like, there's many situations where the Pokemon would really get a good boost. So, like, you know, Arcanine is pretty decent. It's a good Pokemon for PvP because of the fact that it has access to a large move pool. Like, you know, you can give it Flamethrower, you can give it Crunch, you can give it Wild Charge, but, you know, make its fire moves better for something like PvE with Overheat. Latias, same thing. Just give it a Miss Ball and make it useful in PvP. Sorry. So it's not going to be as good in PvE, but maybe, like, you know, if you have one that's fit for PvP, you would spend that dust and candy to go get that move, or, you know, give it Psyshock at least to be better as a Psychic type attacker than something like Psychic. So there's some other cases here. Scizor has Bullet Punch as its fast steel move, but it's kind of like the worst steel move. It's kind of surprising. So give it Steel Wing instead, and it's going to perform 20% better. Aerodactyl, give it Sky Attack. It's going to be the best, the third best flying type attacker because it already has Wing Attack, but it's not really good as with its charge move pool. So it has Rock Slide and Wing Attack and Steel Wing and Ancient Power, etc. So it doesn't have great moves combined together, but Wing Attack, Sky Attack would make it pretty good. Vaporeon here already pretty good as a Pokemon, but, you know, Surf outperforms Hydro Pump in most situations, so one of those exceptions that I put, like the EV Community Day. Kingler doesn't even have a good water charge, so instead of being Bubble X-Scissor, maybe Bubble Surf. And what does it give? More than double the power. It would actually be pretty decent in, you know, those budget attackers. It would never come close to something like Kyogre, but over 1,000 you start being somewhat decent. Like, you know, it's comparable to Vaporeon. So Jinx here, already optimal. Absol, if you gave it Foul Play instead of Dark Pulse, it would increase by about 33%. So another Pokemon that could use a little boost, but, you know, Absol is seen in different medias using Dark Pulse a lot, so, you know, they pretty much go for a Pokemon with a move that fits it. Shadow Clash, Shadow Ball, already optimal here. Houndoom, if you give it a Bite or Fire Spin instead of Fire Fang, that would actually be pretty interesting, because Fire Spin Flamethrower, which it got in a recent update, would make it 6% better. And then if you give it Bite Fall Play, it would be the number 4 Dark type attacker. And like, you know, it would be behind Darkrai and Tyranitar. And I think the other one is Weavile. So it's not bad at all. Like, it's going to be a pretty easily accessible Pokemon, and that's going to be performing pretty well. So, same thing, Pinsir here is already optimal. You know, there's some moves that I just decided to add, like, just for the fun. Just for fun. So, Rock Slide here on Golem, Muck, give it Sludge Bomb. So, they're going to get pretty good increases, like 20% or more. Primeape is something that might be good in PvP, so give it Dynamic Punch. It's, you know, it's almost like a 70% increase. Aggron, give it Metal Claw. That's already, like, it's already better than Iron Tail. So here, I saw 2 possibilities with Kabutops. Give it Smackdown or give it Surf, because those 2 moves pretty much give it more variety, well, more versatility. Smackdown and Waterfall, they are exactly the same move when combined with Surf. Like, they have the exact same stats. So it's pretty much one or the other. So it would give you a double Water or double Rock that would perform pretty well. So Waterfall Surf or Smackdown Stone Edge. Melmetal is a new Pokemon. I searched a little bit in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. There wasn't much you could do with it. Like, there's no data for double Iron Bash. Unless you make it something like as powerful as Doom Desire, well, that would pretty much go up. But it doesn't have like a fast Steel move. And, you know, its best moveset is actually 2 non-stabs. So that tells you how weak its moves are. Flash Cannon is pretty darn terrible. So, you know, there was Ice Punch, Ice Beam, moves like that, but, you know, doesn't really change anything. So I looked in LGP, there's no better move. Omastar here, give it back Rock Throw as a legacy move when you, like, you know, you could do that if you release a shiny. Maybe, like, make a legacy move come back during that event. So, in that case, Rock Throw with Rock Slide would be its best moveset. So at 807.3, so it's not crazy good, but in some like rare situations, like, it can be a pretty good budget Pokemon. Milotic, give it Water Gun instead. So it's gonna be like, you know, it's gonna be a little weaker by like almost 1%, but in PvP it performs better in terms of DPS. It's a better, like, Waterfall's a better move, but in terms of DPS, Water Gun outperforms it, because Waterfall doesn't, you know, I will check here. So Waterfall is ranked at 7.471, but Water Gun here is at 6.9. Like, Waterfall's better, but it has better DPS. So you see here, power per duration here. Water Gun, where did I see it? Oh, it wasn't like one of those rare sims in PvP where, you know, it would actually work better. Sorry about that. So it doesn't perform as well, but it works differently, so it actually works better in terms of simulation. So I saw that and I thought it was interesting. So Drifblim doesn't get anything better. Maybe, you know, create new moves like Phantom Force, Fly, etc. Because right now it's only good with those 2 moves. Hex, Shadow Ball. Hex is not even that good. Like, Lick and Shadow Claw perform it in most cases, and Shadow Ball is like pretty broken, but, you know, you can't get much better. Granbull, give it a fast fairy move. Rapidash, Overheat, almost a 40% increase. Now, I'll skip a few here. Nidoqueen, Poison Jab, Earthquake is its best moveset. Earthquake is a really bad move. Give it something like Drill Run or Sludge Bomb here to make it about 70% stronger at 655. So there's some Pokemon that really get a good boost with only a one move difference. Gorbis with Water Gun, Water Pulse. It's terrible. 309. And if you give it Surf, it more than doubles. So, in that research day, they could. I know it was a new Pokemon, like, period. So, no matter what, it was a new shiny. That's fine. They'll just release it. No special new moves because it's a new Pokemon. Like, no matter what move you give it, it's already new. But, anyways, that would have been interesting. Raichu's already optimal, etc. I'm gonna skip a few here just to fall on Xatu. 320 to 555 by giving it Sky Attack, and instead of giving it Future Sight, it would be a better Flying type attacker. So maybe in lower tiers or for weaker accounts, etc., it would be somewhat more useful. So Ludicolo here. It's kind of crazy because Grass Knot is so good that it gives it a 26% boost. So Razor Leaf Solar Beam actually becomes like its third or fourth best moveset. It's outperformed by Bubble, Grass Knot. Why is Razor Leaf replaced by Bubble? Because Grass Knot is a more powerful move, so it will in total perform better with something that will charge it faster, like Bubble. Waterfall is one move, like, it gives a lot of damage, but it charges slowly, like it doesn't give a lot of energy. But something like Water Gun or Bubble give more energy, even though it doesn't hit as hard. So there's a balance here that really affects the equation. Sunflora, give it Grass Knot instead, 29% increase, etc. Dusknoir is one of the best moves. Like, Shadow Ball is one of the best moves. I already said it. And it almost triples. It goes from, 182 to 509. So it's a huge increase in something that's already pretty bulky. Like Dusknoir, if you actually check its stats, it's more, in HP and defense in the main series game. So, like, it has a pretty decent attack. I think it's like 100 or something. Give it Shadow Ball, that is gonna hit pretty hard. So, there's a ton of good examples of Pokemon that will outperform their current moveset. Like, Pidgeot, give it Sky Attack, almost double, it more than doubles actually. Like, replacing Hurricane with Sky Attack is pretty huge increase. And there are Pokemon like love this. You don't really care. They're never gonna do anything. Castform with Water Gun, Hydro Pump. Replace Hydro Pump by Weather Ball Water. It more than doubles. So that's one thing. You gave a shiny form to the standard Castform, but the other forms didn't get much, so give it their Weather Balls, and they're gonna be like much stronger. I think they actually were released. Weather Ball Ice, Fire, Water, but there hasn't been much discussion around it. But they perform pretty well in PvP lower leagues. So that's pretty much it. Delibird, just give it new moves. Like, it's a cool Pokemon, maybe like make it a little bit better. That's it. Like, I talked about lots of them. Dusknoir is the one that would get the higher boost. It's almost 180% increase. Like, it's not like 1.8 times, is almost 2.8. So, like, really, really big improvement for some Pokemon. Like, Kingler, I already talked about it. Oho, Groudon, like, those Pokemon really would get a huge boost. Same thing for, like, some other Pokemon like Scizor or Butterfree, even though, like, Bug Bite is pretty much the best fast bug move. it can not learn X Scissor, but you can actually give it Shadow Ball, and it will still perform better because Shadow Ball is so great that even though it's not stab, it will outperform its current moveset by 22%. So, you know, lots of good opportunities for Niantic to, you know, improve their current meta by not only giving a Pokemon a new move, but a new shiny. So people will look for them for more than one reason, and they'll still have something to fall back on if they don't find a shiny. So I'm sure that I actually missed a few here because there are some, like, so many good Pokemon that would get much better. You see, like, Pokemon like Forretress, you know, with Counter, it's not gonna perform as well because 372.9, you know, it's a 20% like drop, but in PvP it's gonna work a little bit better, and Counter is the best move in the game. So even though it's not stab, and Heavy Slam's a decent steel move, and Bug Bite's a pretty good fast move, you know, it's just gonna perform better in PvP, even though it's not going to be the case in PvE, but nobody really uses Forretress in PvE. So that's pretty much it. I would like to know what you guys think about it, and if it's a good idea, if you would do that if you were Niantic. Of course, it is something that, you know, it will get redundant after a certain time because, people will start saying the same thing. I don't care about those new moves, but for now, for like a short to midterm, it would actually like boost the interest people have for new shinies, because even though they don't get the shiny, they get something new that they could use, and it adds like a lot of depth to the game and PvP. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter and on Twitch, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace!